My mother's dying confession revealed that the man I called Dad wasn't my real father. I was sitting by her bedside in the hospice ward. It smelled like industrial cleaner and those fading lilies my aunt had brought in. My mom, she was always the perfect suburban mother. Baked cookies, volunteered at the library, married my dad, Steve, right out of college. They were the couple everyone pointed to when they talked about soulmates. Steve is a good man, a retired postal worker, kind of quiet, loves his garden. He was in the cafeteria getting coffee when my mom pulled me close. Her voice was barely a rasp. "Elias," she whispered, "I can't take this with me. Steve, he's not your father. I'm so sorry." I thought she was delirious, the meds, the fever. I tried to shush her, but she gripped my hand with a strength I didn't think she had left. "Look in the cedar chest," she said, "behind the false bottom, the blue envelope. Don't tell Steve, please." And then she was gone. 2 hours later, she passed away. The next few weeks were a blur of funerals and casseroles. But that confession was like a buzzing in my ears. I couldn't sleep. I'd look at Steve across the dinner table, his gray eyes, his square jaw, and then I'd look at myself in the mirror. I have dark, curly hair and olive skin. Steve is fair and blonde. I always just assumed I took after my mom's side. Finally, I couldn't take it. I went to their house while Steve was at his bowling league. I found the cedar chest in the attic. It took me an hour of prying, but I found the false bottom. And there it was, the blue envelope. I expected a name I didn't know, a random fling, a stranger. But when I opened the letter, my heart didn't just drop. It stopped. The letter was dated September 1994. It was a thank you note. A very intimate, very detailed thank you note. It was signed by Uncle Arthur. Arthur isn't my uncle. Not by blood. He was Steve's best friend, his best man at their wedding. He was the guy who taught me how to throw a baseball. The guy who was at every birthday party, every graduation, sitting right next to my dad. I sat on the floor of that attic and threw up. I didn't confront Arthur. I'm a researcher by trade. I looked for the data. I started digging. I went back through my mom's old scrapbooks. I noticed things I'd missed for 30 years. In every photo from the summer of '94, Arthur was there. In the background. Always just a little too close to my mother. Then I did a DNA test, one of those ancestry kits. I told Steve I was doing it to trace our heritage since Mom was gone. He thought it was a great idea. Even did one with me. The results came back 2 weeks later. Parental match, 0%. I stared at that screen for 4 hours. Steve, the man who stayed up with me when I had nightmares, the man who paid for my college, the man who cried at my wedding, was a stranger on paper. But then I saw the clothes matches section. First cousin, Sarah Miller. Sarah Miller is Arthur's niece. I felt this white-hot rage, not just at my mom, but at Arthur. This man had sat at our Christmas table for 3 decades. He'd watched Steve struggle to raise me. Watched Steve sacrifice his own hobbies to pay for my braces, all while knowing I was his. I decided to go to Arthur's house. I didn't call. I just showed up. Arthur was in his garage working on a vintage motorcycle. He looked up and smiled, that same Uncle Arthur smile that used to make me feel safe. "Elias, what brings you by, kid?" I didn't say anything. I just handed him the blue envelope. The smile didn't just fade, it evaporated. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. He sat down on a stool, his hand shaking so hard the paper rattled. "She told you," he whispered. "She told me," I said. My voice was cold, and the DNA test confirmed it. "You've known for 30 years, haven't you?" He didn't deny it. He told me it was a one-time mistake during a rough patch in Steve and Mom's marriage. He said they decided it was better for everyone if Steve never knew. "Better for you," I snapped. "You gotta be the fun uncle while my dad did the heavy lifting. You let him raise your son while you lived your own life with zero responsibility." Then Arthur said something that changed everything. "Steve knows, Elias." I froze. "What?" "He's known since you were 6 months old," Arthur said, looking at the floor. "He found out through a blood type test at your first checkup. He confronted your mother. They had a huge fight. I thought they were gonna get a divorce. But Steve told her that if he left, he'd lose you. And he loved you more than he hated what we did." I left Arthur's garage without another word. I drove straight to my dad's house. Not Steve's house. My dad's house. He was in the backyard, pruning his roses. I walked up to him and he looked at me and I think he knew. He saw the look in my eyes. "I went to see Arthur," I said. Steve stopped. He put down his shears. He looked at me for a long time. Then he just opened his arms. I'm a 30-year-old man and I sobbed like a child on his shoulder. "You're my son, Elias," he whispered. "Biology doesn't make a father. Love does. And I chose you every single day for 30 years. That's not going to change now. I haven't spoken to Arthur since that day. I blocked his number. My aunt told me he's depressed and wants to make things right, but there's nothing to make right. He was a spectator in my life, while a real man did the work.